And the number 10 man on my list is a player that I've been mentioning a lot on this show, and I'm not doing it facetiously, guys. Dan Arnold's number 10, tight end for the Cardinals. I know what the Cardinals are trying to do on offense this year, and it's going to feed a lot of people. They love DeAndre Hopkins. They love Larry Fitzgerald. They love Kenyon Drake. But Dan Arnold has a place in this offense. Hasn't done much in his career. Has played just 15 games. He's had 20 catches in those 15 games. 277 receiving yards and just 3 receiving touchdowns. When I say breakout player, I'm not going to give you a household name and say, oh, he's going to have a breakout year this year. No, I'm talking about making a giant leap from one year to the next. I think Dan Arnold, expect him to be a third or fourth option in that Cardinals offense, not just on fluke plays, but on every play. They really like him. He showed up to camp looking incredible, and I can tell you Kyler Murray and him have a really good chemistry right out of the gate this summer. Number 9, let's go to Jacksonville, which is a topic of conversation this morning, and let's go to number 41, the other Josh Allen. Quietly, in a season that was lost with a quarterback change to Minshew and all the players of Ramsey being gone and Ngakoue being upset last year, Josh Allen had an incredible rookie season. Remember, he was taken in the top 10, kind of slid there to Jacksonville. He was a breakout player last year. I think he becomes one of the elite pass rushers in the NFL this year. When you think of rookie pass rushers from last year, Bosa, of course, comes to mind. Maybe Crosby, maybe Montez Sweat. No, Josh Allen led them all in sacks. I think he is going to be fantastic this year, even without Ngakoue on the other side. I think they love what they got in Le'Veon Chase on the first-round pick they got this year. Josh Allen for the Jacksonville Jaguars, I would be surprised if that number doesn't go even higher in 2020. All right, number 8. Number 8, Baltimore has been a great place for breakout stars the past few years. And when last year I said Marlon Humphrey is going to have a big season, he went on to be a Pro Bowler. Felt pretty good about that because of what I was hearing in training camp. Hearing similar things out of this guy, Chuck Clark. Guys in the building call him Chucky Clark, but Chuck Clark is supposed to be the next great safety for the Ravens. And they've had such a long line of good safeties, right? From Ed Reed on to Eric Weddle to Tony Jefferson. Earl Thomas last year had his moments, but they got rid of Earl Thomas. Look for Chucky Clark to be the guy in that defensive backfield calling the shots. He's played just 3 years in the league, but has made an impact. And last year, quietly, led the Ravens in tackles with 68 of them. Not a household name yet, but Chucky Clark could be an all-pro this season. Number 7. Now we're going to a rookie, and not a rookie running back you necessarily have drafted on your fantasy team or have heard us rave about. I'm going with the big boy, Zach Moss. 3rd-round pick out of Utah. Zach Moss was 2019's Pac-12 Offensive Player of the Year, led the conference in both rushing yards and rushing touchdowns, and he is the cousin of NFL players Santana and Sonoris Moss. Also, the Bills. We saw that they waited in the draft to take running back. All of these guys went before him. All of them. And we're talking about Lee Bowden Jr., who's going to be maybe a running back, wide receiver. We're not sure. They sat pretty in the 3rd round, and they got Zach Moss. And everyone's saying, well, what about Motor Singletary? What about Devin Singletary? Listen to me now on August 31st. Don't be shocked if Zach Moss gets more of the load than Devin Singletary. He's bigger, he's compared to Marshawn Lynch, and he is having an outstanding summer. Remember, Motor's a smaller guy, is a player that we can kind of do things out of the backfield that you like, the razzle-dazzle, and certainly can make big plays when needed, as he did in Pittsburgh last year. But I would say Zach Moss might be the bell cow for the Buffalo Bills by the end of this season. And number 6, we're going to go 10 through 6 today. Number 6 is another rookie, and it's another wide receiver that we've been talking about. It's Van Jefferson for the Los Angeles Rams, the son of Sean Jefferson, who's currently the wide receivers coach for the New York Jets and played a long time in the NFL, 12 years. Van Jefferson comes out of the University of Florida where he battled injuries, but he has been putting on his show all summer long as a later round pick for the Los Angeles Rams. Wasn't a 1st-round pick, wasn't a 2nd-round pick, but you go back to Ole Miss in 2017 where he started his career, and look at this wide receiver room. A.J. Brown was a sophomore. DK Metcalf was a redshirt freshman, and Van Jefferson was also a sophomore. Transferred to Florida, had a big season, got hurt, and now he's with the Rams. And you're saying, well, what about Kupp? And what about Woods? And what about Josh Reynolds? Let's just say this. The comparison that I have been hearing for Van Jefferson is not Odell Beckham. It's not Julio Jones. It is a technician. It is Keenan Allen. That is the comparison I am hearing out of Rams world on Van Jefferson. Let's look at 10 through 6. Not household names, not the guys being taken in your fantasy drafts right now. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for breakout stars, guys that you don't know, guys that aren't starting week 1 on your fantasy squad. Dan Arnold, Zach Moss, Van Jefferson among them, and then on the defensive side of the ball, these guys I think could be all pros. Josh Allen and Chuck Clark. We're gonna go 5-1 tomorrow. Some more household names than these guys, but 10-6, that is my list. Feel pretty good about all of them. I'm hearing things out of camp, and I'm a huge fan of all of those players, and I think they're gonna have big years in 2020. Kyle Brandt, what do you got?
You know, it's a beautiful thing, Peter. In the beginning of the segment, we showed your greatest hits, and you're ranting about Mahomes, and this is going to be the breakout of Mahomes, Patrick Mahomes. And then we run the show intro for this one, and it's a floating image of Dan Arnold, Cardinals tight end. Look at him right into your living room. Dan Arnold's face on the heels of Patrick Mahomes. Peter, I love it because he's kind of become a character on the show in this preseason, but everyone at home should know Peter doesn't just look at a list and say, I got a feeling about this guy. You work it, not based on conversations. So, Peter, 20 catches in 15 games, and he's a top 10 breakout star. Does Cliff just love him that much? What's going on?
There's a significant part of the offense built for Dan Arnold this year for the Arizona Cardinals. If he doesn't perform this year and doesn't have a big year, I'll fall on the sword and say that's my bad. But everything I hear out of Arizona, Dan Arnold is going to play a